because it's picking the wrong one. There we go. That's better. Yes, let's start this again. Hello and welcome to Community Frontline number 8. I hope you can actually hear me now. I hope so, or at least it shows for me now that it works. I don't know why it didn't work before, but it seems it picked the wrong microphone. Anyways, yeah, it's been a while, guys. I think my last Community Frontline was 1.5, 2 months ago, maybe. I'm not sure. I've prepared some new stuff for you guys today. Going to talk in depth a bit about the factory map. Going to show you guys where the deployments are located and how the lines are properly set up right now. I believe you can also still check it yourself if you want to. The prototype server should still be opened. So if you go to prototype.heroesandgenerals.com, you should be able to download the 1.10.1 version. And I already see questions. Link and Poop, you may be able to see my cats later. The one is sitting right next to me, and the other one, I'm actually not sure where the other one is, but they've been happily playing just now. So I did not shave my head for the German faction. That sounds a bit weird, but it's because I'm growing bald. But yeah, sure. So let's start off with the basics. As usual, at the beginning of the stream, I do some stats, and this time I would also like to look at some RTS stats again, because we had a pretty long war, which ended about a week ago, and well, I gathered the war viewer from that one, but I also wanted to have a look at the deployment stats, because there are still a lot of concerns about why is this faction deploying so much, why is that faction deploying so much. One of the main things we actually noticed is that despite the German faction not out deploying the other factions at the moment, they have by far the highest queue, so they sustain a lot of heavy losses. But looking at the previous war, because I think one ended recently, or at least I saw the emails about it, I prepared the resources actually. So this is not the longest war, the one we had like 2 weeks ago. This is actually the war from, yeah, which at least ended on February 11th at 8 o'clock roughly. So this shows actually the US resources. So at this time during this war, they had a pretty stable-ish deployment of 800, 900,000 infantry. I did not put a very high detail on the tanks, the crewmen, whatever, because that's pretty much the same for all factions. But this is right now, it's not at their highest amount, but it's fairly high. And we actually have the after using the one. Then we have the German one, which is also from the same time frame. So they're all from the same time frame. Is actually, they used to be higher as the US for a short moment, a little over 850,000. But during the end of the war, they, as you can see, this is, I'm guessing, part of the reason why they have such a high queue is because they sustain incredibly high losses. So they basically, as you can see a bit here, they lose in approximately, well, 8 hours. They lose over 100,000 infantry, which means there's probably a lot being cut off. There's, I don't know, they're just mass sending and losing battles. So, and this is actually during, well, this is in the morning and the afternoon of Central European time. So, and then we also have the Soviet Union, which actually has been steadily climbing. So the war wasn't lasting that long yet, but even the Soviet Union has been passing the 600,000 infantry. So while they still deploy the least of all three factions, which they pretty much have always been doing, they actually do maintain at the moment, have a fairly high amount of resources. So if we look at the total picture right now, here is you got the US, the Germans, and the Soviets. Is actually, there is a difference, of course, in deployment, but I have to say that the difference isn't that big at the moment. I've seen worse. Let's say it like that. There's about to climb a cat. He's climbing over my screen and it's not going very smooth. So I just wanted to show you guys that a bit. So, and then we also had the long war. It was war 565, which was a war which lasted, I think, 3 weeks, something like that. I don't know the exact numbers, but something like 3 weeks. So I prepared the War Viewer, which is the program we can use to actually show you how the war progressed. I just need to remove the cat from my screen. 1 sec. And so this is basically the war map, and I will play it. I will probably speed it up a bit because it goes pretty slow. So basically, for those who have never seen this before, every time you see the orange dot stuff is basically when a battle has been fought. If there is a circle around a town, or darker circle, the darker it is, the more battles have been played in that specific area. So I'll just, because this was actually this is a really long war, and in the right top you can see how many battlefields are actually owned by each faction and how many battles were won. If you want to see some of these yourself, I think you should be able to access the link. I will post it later in the chat. And yeah, in regards to the US's so many choke points is actually, I'll show you a bit later what adjustments we made on the RTS map in order to widen some of the choke points for the US and the Russian front, but tighten them a bit for the Germans. You saw just a moment ago that Bordeaux was being mass captured. And there's a pretty heavy stalemate, but the Germans, I must say, I'm quite impressed how they maintain their huge front line. Yeah, if there's wars missing in there, I see Tumult just posted the link. If there's wars missing in there, I try to get them updated. If there happens to be a fun war which you really want to see but it's not in there, feel free to just send a PM and I will try to get it in the list. The tool doesn't work super awesome, so you may have to do some hard refreshes and stuff like that to get some new stuff to show up. But it's quite a nifty thing to actually see how a war progressed. And right now you see that pretty much very large parts of the map are just getting insanely yeah, you see the Bordeaux area is just insane fights constantly around there. The lines around the towns are getting pretty dark there, so it's a lot of combat on the same areas. But I think in the end the Soviets won it, right? If I'm not mistaken. Didn't they? I thought they did. Yeah, there's a lot of battlefields around Bordeaux area, and you can see that actually you saw it several times around the Bordeaux area that it was actually mostly being soft capped because the towns behind the front line were completely empty. So that is actually quite interesting to see is, hold on, I'll just close this and I will launch up the server. Oh no, actually I already have it opened. Give me a sec. So if I go to the Generals tab here, so what we've done for 110.1, it's not huge changes. For starters, there were some questions about that because the factory line is going to, the factory map is going to have 2 extra lines. There has been a lot of revisions on the campaign map in terms of getting the factory to line up with more towns. So basically, for example, I'm taking Marseille, Le Luc. It has 3 lines now connecting to it. And while there are still some factories who only have 2 lines, There's also a lot of factories on the map who now have 4 lines, 3 lines, stuff like that. So factories will be probably played more often because they're no longer an in-between town which you can easily cut off. Just trying to find some good examples. I last saw where I'm working on here. So here you have a factory which now has 4 lines connecting to it. So one of the other things which has been done, well, Redbjorn was added anyway, is that we want to provide a slightly better protection for the Germans in regards to Rome. So what we've done is in this area, yeah, it's not very visible. I didn't have enough time to make proper comparison screenshots, but so basically towards Zurich, but also towards this area and towards this area, the choke points have been tightened a bit. So some towns have been removed, some lines have been removed in order to make it easier for the Germans to actually protect Rome. And next to that, so the Alps basically have been tightened a bit. Next to that, you also have the Marseille area. And between the Marseille and the Bordeaux area, and then we're mostly talking about this area. I hope you guys see my mouse. You should be able to see my mouse. So mostly this area is also removed some towns here and then, made it easier to defend these parts of the maps on certain choke points. So, for example, I think right now on live this actually has some more towns around here. So now it has some reduced lines, some reduced towns, so it should be slightly easier to defend these choke points, which again should provide for a easier threshold for the Germans, you know, so it's a little easier for them to defend their areas. And we also have another, well, big change. We also have some changes in the Scandinavia area. So first off, we've got this area, which has been slightly adjusted. There are some more lines here, there are some more towns here to facilitate an easier or a widened choke point for the Russians and for the US, because we believe that they could use a little extra front line here instead of making it very easy to defend Scandinavia. And then we also have the area up here. So the northern island, well, this hasn't changed that much. Mariehamn Hammerland, there has been added an airfield here, for example, which means probably with air movement it's going to be moving a little faster up and down here. And this area as well has received some adjustments to widen the choke point a bit, so there's going to be a little bit more combat between the US and the Soviet faction, or at least that's the idea. And we'll have to see how it turns out. I mean, it's always possible to make more adjustments, to look at the maps again. But for now, we want to analyze what effect this has, and if we can facilitate a slightly easier RTS play for the Germans. So then I have the... Yeah, we might as well do that first. So yeah, let's get to the factory map. I hope I have it set up, yes. And I hope it can find a battle. It could be at any time that... ooh, that was noisy. It could be at any time that the server decides to reboot. That's because I'm playing on the test server and they're still very much testing the new build, and QA has a priority over the streams. So, which means that that if the server gets a reboot, it has to be done because they have a newer version which has to be tested again. So they promised they would try not to, but there is a possibility that the server gets rebooted, in which case I will have to switch around my plans a bit. This is actually not on prototype, this is on the test server, because on prototype the cheats aren't enabled and I need the cheats. Or else I cannot use the commands which I would like to use. fixed it. Okay, fair enough. So, there we go. So I'm just gonna run you past the lines a bit. Let's start an A line. It's actually A line is probably the one we're all used to because it's well, it's the one which has already been there. I'm just gonna take it in bird eye. So for A line, there's not huge changes. There is actually still changes on this line as well to facilitate for the other lines, but I'm guessing A line is probably the one with the least changes. So what you can see here, again for the guys who have not seen this before, basically those yellow thingies are spawn points. So this is where you can deploy. The small ones are the infantry deploy zones, and the bigger ones are the ones for vehicles. And then you also have the red ones, which is planes, paratrooper planes, and stuff like that. So this one is actually pretty much, if you've played this map before, which I'm assuming you have, it looks pretty similar. One of the new additions here, and that is to prevent the lines from interfering with each other, is that the wall areas around the main compounds have been significantly changed, and the factory structures have actually been greatly extended. And there's a cat right in front of me. Oh, yeah. Oh, 1 sec. So what you can actually see here is because this used to be very open, and it had like a line, a wall at some point, but this is significantly changed to prevent this line, which now is the Bravo line on top of my head, actually prevents them from interfering with the Alpha line. So while the objective is still in here, and this has been changed, and keep in mind it's still a little work in progress, but it should be close to final. So this has also been changed in terms of how the structure looks, because you used to be able to like jump from here into A3 and stuff like that, but now there's fences, gateways and stuff like that. This is actually even closed, so you really cannot interfere from this side to that side that much. And then you have the primary objective here, which has some added AA placements, but also, yeah, if you look at the way the walls have been positioned, it has significantly changed in terms to what it was. And here you can see the new vehicle spawns, which used to be shielded here in a small wall line, and now they deploy over here, where they have multiple sides to drive out from. But in general, the amount of structures have actually been greatly improved as well, because these structures didn't used to be here, or at least not in this position on this line. There's also some new types of buildings, like this one, which is fairly newish, this building. By the way, if you see those kind of arrows, those are the Panzerfaust positions, and I think there should be one for the Civi trucks as well. So let's move on to this line. So this one is actually, this is a brand new line. This is completely added. It has been renamed. This is actually the Charlie line, or is it this the Bravo line? Ah, I'm so confused. I'm still getting used to this map by a lot. I can't actually see it right now, but the lines, the old Bravo line has been renamed in order to make a proper order. So this has been on prototype as well, so there has been made, Rita Dash has made some adjustments in regards to the feedback, because these deploy zones were actually very close to each other. So this one is still, this is the O2 deploy zone, and this is the let's call Charlie line right now the Charlie 3 O2 deploy zone. So they're relatively close to each other, but the wall here has been increased a bit, and there has been added a lot of cover, and now you can also exit the deploy zone through there, so you don't interfere that much with the other line. And this is then in that case Charlie 3. I think it's Delta, I'm not sure, I'm so confused. And well, to facilitate it actually being a garage, there's a lot of extra civilian trucks, and there's a lot of entry points from both sides. We personally played quite a lot on the we had some internal play sessions as well, and I have to say that the combat around this area is pretty intense infantry fighting. So then we go to the houses above it, which is a deploy zone, but actually when it's not active as a deploy zone, it is sorry, my cat is killing me. It wants to cuddle, but it's not a good time to cuddle. So when this is actually not a deploy zone, so when one team holds that objective and the other team holds this objective, it's actually quite a lot of fun to fight around here as well, because it offers a lot of flanking abilities over the water side, but also through the forests here and stuff like that. But it's quite fun to play around this area, and there is also an AA placement here. So there's also a lot of extra AA placements on the factory map. So this is, okay, see, it's D line, so that is actually D3. So this is more house-like area. This you may recognize this house. This is like the corner house on Mountain Top. And then we have a fairly large deploy zone back here, which also includes vehicles. And it's nice and wide, so it offers a lot of abilities to move away. And then we have the Delta 1, which is this one. And then you have the deploy zone behind it again, which is just on the other side of the hill, so it provides you with a little extra cover. I'm just gonna go all the way back. So basically, and it lines to this objective. So this is the old line, so to speak. The old line. It's not really the old line, but this is what it used to be. So now you have the pipeline, which used to be more in a forest-like area and only shielded off with a basic fence. It has been moved a bit closer to the objective, and it's now also a deploy zone, so you actually have a deploy zone fairly close. So if you attack from this side now, these guys are, again, they're pretty close, but they also have the option now to exit through the other side. So there's always an exit, which doesn't necessarily interfere right away with the enemy, which is quite important. And I think based on the feedback, Rito Deshi has also added a doorway here, which means that you can also enter the objective by just running straight forward and entering through here. So this objective area actually has multiple entrance points now. So you also have this one, and you have the two larger doors on the sides. So you have a door there and you have a door there, and then you have the smaller door, which is directly at the deploy zone. And then we have the objective here, which is still pretty much the same building, with some yeah, this is the old Bravo 3. And the only big difference is again, to prevent the lines from interfering too much. The walls have been extended, but there have been made some gaps, so there's still a lot of flanking possibilities in and around the objective. And this is also the this is what it also used to be, the Bravo 2. It just has been moved a tiny bit closer, and the positioning of the line has been altered a tiny bit, so to facilitate for the other lines. So if we move here, this is all a bit different. So there's a deploy zone here, but you actually go up here as well, where you also have an objective. And I can't seem to locate the deploy zone. Yeah. So this one has actually been, the route has been changed to facilitate for the other lines. And then we have the last line, so let's take it down here. It's down this side. This objective actually hasn't changed that much as far as I know, or at least I couldn't find any major differences. It's still the same door being opened, the coal stack. From the inside it's pretty much the same, but also the entrances are still the same. So then we have one more line, which is the one going to this building. This is basically a fairly new structure, or at least it's a part of the factory structure reused to facilitate this new building. It's quite big on the inside actually, and there's stairs everywhere. And you can, oh, this is difficult when you're flying. And you can also go even further up, which leads you to the roof, which is also AA placements and Panzerfaust. And there has been some added Panzerfaust crates here and there to facilitate a little easier defense, or attack for that matter. But so you move on to this line. So this is actually where the map used to sort of end, and now that it has actually been turned into a new line with new objectives. Pretty standard like buildings, but provides some new vantage points where you can also, this is the train line has been extended. So this is basically where the map ends now. If you go further than that, it doesn't make very much sense. And you end up from here. So if you still want to test these changes or want to play around with it, it should still be up on the prototype server. If you go to prototype.heroesandgenerals.com, you should be able to access it. I think it's pretty final. I don't expect a lot of changes on it, more, if anything, mostly bug fixes. And yeah, give it a go. It should be hopefully released soon as well. So, but as I said, because there were some concerns about that, this is also so on the RTS map, more lines have been connected to most of the maps, which means that I was hoping. Hold on. Yes, thank you. No, come on. It doesn't work so well with admin commands anymore. I'll just do it like this. There we go. So I just wanted to show the factory map a bit. In the meantime, I'm just gonna do a giveaway while I prepare some of the next stuff. Oops, sorry, but put it away. So I'm gonna open a giveaway. I hope it works. Oh, it does say live now. Okay, good. So if you wish to participate in the giveaway, you can press !gold, and I hope everybody will be able to participate, and there's no strange rules. And it should be opened. And of course, our biggest troll entered first, aka Adrian Victus. And then it gives me the opportunity to drink something. So I'm just gonna let it run for a bit. In the meantime, I will search this. Change log. Okay, yes, let's have a look see. So I'm going to close the giveaway in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and close it. And I'm going to pick 2 winners. So the first winner is Hoppercup. Hello, Hoppercup. Please type something in chat, Hoppercup. And so I can find you. I think I found you. Can I? Hoppercup, please type something in chat. Seems like Hoppercup has suffered and died. Yeah, it does appear to be the first time he's in, but it doesn't appear to be here anymore. So if Hoppercup doesn't respond in 5 seconds, then I'm gonna pick a new winner. It's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm gonna pick a new winner, which is Blue Jester 23. Yes, and you responded, and I'm gonna pick a second winner, which is going to be It's Just Cat. Ah, that is so fitting. So fitting. It's just cat. Yeah. But it's just cat. I will hand out some stuff to you. Hold on. Yes. I don't think you can reply to me because somebody turned it off. So, well, I prepared that. So the other changes, because 1.10.1 is a fairly small update, hence why it's not 1.11. Because most of the other changes we've done is actually some performance improvements on the UI part. So they're not really visible, but there should be some memory optimizations, there should be some speed up optimizations, there's a lot of fixes on the UI part, and then we're talking about the part where your soldier screen is and stuff like that. So that is actually the other part of the update, but it's not very visible, but hopefully everybody will sort of feel it. And but I can't really show that because on the test server generally everything runs smooth anyway, because I'm the only one online at the moment. So and yeah, that was everything. So that's like I said, that's not something I really can show, but I do wanted to show something else. So we're just going to take some quick turns between subjects right now. Is one of the things I wanted to show is actually the there was a lot of concerns. We published the Heroes and Generals development overview, which is this is based in Trello. Trello is the program we use internally to define a lot of things, a lot of our projects, but I just wanted to go slightly into more detail about this is that there were a lot of concerns that the RTS is not in this, which is sort of true because it's quite hidden. But when you look at the early development, then you have the tech upgrade, the war server. The war server refactoring is basically a necessity for us to further develop on the strategy game. So it's listed in the early development. It's being worked on already. So the Vito Stanham and actually don't even know his reader name, but we have two backend developers working on this part, which is basically the refactoring. But the tech upgrade war server is, and I think we've said it a billion times, it is a necessity for us to do this in order to expand and fix stuff on the RTS. And then we have another one, which is the performance. I think, well, fairly for those who play the RTS, we are pretty well aware that the RTS is pretty slow and contains some problems which result in crashes and stuff like that. And another part of that, which is already being worked on, is the UI on the war map is going to be revamped and reworked to hopefully also better explain the RTS map, but also to improve on the memory management and to prevent the system from taking such a heavy load when you have the RTS map opened. So this has nothing to do, the UI of the war map has nothing to do with easing up choke points and stuff like that. That is something different. That is something we can also do, but that is not this part. And it's mostly the fairly large projects being listed in this development overview. And yeah, so if you want to have a look, this should be on the website somewhere, and it will be updated on a monthly basis, so you actually know what we are currently working on and what is on hold and what is in which state. So for example, like we have the vehicle paint jobs in the of the Panther, for example, it's in final development, because once we release 1.10.1 we will have these vehicle camos ready for you and they will be released. And I see a question in between your 80 and fixtures. Have you guys planned to merge heavy with medium fighter like I suggested it during the dev stream? I haven't had the it's on my list to talk about again in our weekly meeting. We have a weekly meeting with me, Rebjarn, we got Splixen on it, we got our producer on it, and some other people. So I plan to address it there as well, because I think it was received as like, oh yeah, this is something we can actually do, and it's not that hard to change the way the stage battles are set up. So there's probably I hope we're gonna be able to add some of these battles where the heavy fighters and the medium fighters are combined, but I haven't been able to talk to them about it yet. We've been working through quite a large list recently of stuff we're going through and prioritizing and assessing what the problem is, so we can only do so much per week, but it's on my list as well to talk to, just like because there is a lot of complaints about it on the forums right now, just like it's on my list to talk to them about the ability, or rather removing the ability for friendly players to unlock a friendly APC. Okay, and then I have one more really newish thing to show, because and yeah, but keep in mind guys, because I already see people like, oh awesome, keep in mind that it's just talking about it. It's not necessarily that we will implement it. It's like everything, it's entering, it's like we talk about it, we talk about the issues, we talk about possible solutions, and if we think it's a good idea, and that's not just up to me, then we prioritize it into development. And there's a lot of things actually in that list right now, but you also have to keep in mind that most of the things in that list are currently not a priority, because we're optimizing and upgrading and working on our backend tools, which can be seen in the development overview. So then I have one more thing which I wanted to show in regards to there were some requests from the the Q&A why, like what is the status of the vehicle update, which is also in development. So we got a new video, actually just got released. I just picked it from a different YouTube channel actually than the one we're used to, but I just wanted to show you guys. I hope the quality is decent-ish. Don't think I can send it anymore. So part of the vehicle update is setting the speed for on the roads, on the various type of terrain. So you got the grass, you have the wheat fields, you have the grain fields, you have the forests, and part of that is that they will perform differently on each type of terrain. So the BT7 is actually one of the vehicles which currently is not super fast in the game, but in real life it actually was one of the fastest, one of the most fast tanks ever, or to be used on the field. So Rita Cristiano has made actually a small video of how it should perform, and keep in mind this is still very early, so there might still be a lot of changes and it hasn't been tested yet, which means that also based on feedback we will probably make a lot of changes. But this is how the BT7 will actually perform in the new vehicle update for now, or at least the idea is now. So I just wanted to show you guys something like that. So that is actually, that's going to be one of the fastest vehicles in the game, or at least that's the way it looks like right now. It was actually fairly fast in real life. I see some questions in chat about like, are all the tanks going to have that? The question is, the answer is yes. Every tank is going to receive adjustments in terms of the speed. And if you have a look on our forums, there we have the Rito Reference Regiment section, and there is actually Hastur, which is one of our moderators, but he's also part of the Rito Reference Regiment. He has made a list of the speed changes on the various terrains, and he made large overviews of which tanks will be the fastest where, and on which terrain they will perform best. And for example, the tracked vehicles, as Rita Cristiano has pointed out several times, will have a very strong benefit in the off-road terrain, while the vehicles like the Jeep will not. I'll put the link here. So you can actually check that, but be sure to keep in mind this is still, it has not actually been tested yet. There might still be a lot of adjustments. It hasn't been it hasn't gone through QA yet. It hasn't been a prototype yet. So it could very well be that the values that you see here may still change a lot during the process of getting it from where it is right now to the live servers. Yeah, in short, work in progress. But I think it would be funny, and if you want to see the video again, I think I just clicked it away. Give me a second. And if you want to see the video again, I can also provide a link. It's actually on someone's private YouTube, but you can see the video there if you wish to see it again. That's the BT7 performing in the new vehicle update system. In regards to the Tiger 1, I think if we look at if we compare it with the old values, then actually pretty much all tanks will receive an increased speed. But once again, it also depends a lot on the terrain type and stuff like that. So everything will probably still move fast on the roads, but maybe less fast on the, let's say, wheat fields, cornfields, whatever. And I think that was pretty much it, which I had to show on the test servers. So I'm just gonna hop on live and have a look at the chat in the meantime. And I hope I'm on the right server. Am I? That doesn't, hold on. Was I on the right server? Which one did I pick? Should be this one. Yes, there we go. I don't understand why this doesn't work. It seems to be a bit weird. I'll alert them that it's down. So this time I think I should be playing Soviets. I think the last time I played something else, I can't even recall anymore. So I'll just I lost all my combat badges. Hold on. My veteran ran out at some point, I think. Yeah, fast reload and this one should have order and fast reload. And this one, what's this one? Oh, that's the same. Hold on. Then we have the gunner, which should have mechanic. No, Adrian Victus, you can never play against me. I'm much too awesome to play against. But in all fairness, I can't stop playing against me. I play war, it's random, so what is this? Heavy set and fast reload. Just have to set it up. I didn't know it reset. Flip check it and bombs away. Heavy set and fast reload. I'm a big fan of fast reload badge, so I love it. And this one should also have the fast reload because this is probably the AVS. Yes. Meteor on this account, no, but this is my video account. On my video account, I use basically funds which I can add infinitely, but I have private accounts which are completely self-earned. where it even goes as far as that actually if I want gold on that account, then I actually purchase it myself. So I love fast reload, but I know of a lot of people who use different kind of badges. I don't know. Once I started using it on one of my characters, I just couldn't not get used to it anymore. So I had to use it on everything. But it's you have to play with the SMG a lot to unlock it on every character. Meteor, I have several, but the one I'm most known under is Emelian. Hey, we switch lines. Okay, fair enough. My computer is actually doing something, and I'm not sure what. It seems to be it's possibly Windows updating or something. Oh, it's boys again. The Spartan is actually being postponed twice now because we still ran into some issues. If everything goes well, and that is really if, so I'm not 100% sure yet because QA needs to give it a go, but if everything goes well, then the update will be released tomorrow. If that doesn't happen, then I'm guessing somewhere next week. They're pretty busy still working on it, so but yeah, we have to see I've seen the server redeploy quite a lot today, or at least the test server, so they're still very much working on it. There's still some issues to be ironed out, and Meteor, given that I've clocked quite a few hours in this game, I think I'm at approximately 4,000 already or something like that. I don't think it's necessarily a necessity to look at what I grinded and what I didn't. Basins, no, I cannot, because Rito Choco is no longer working for Rito. So, to answer the question, no. That's actually still another thing I wanted to show, but health on this one. Turns out I don't. should have installed a med pack on this one. Meh. I'm not sure if I have a... Did I have a scoped SVT equipped? I don't think I have it on this one. I could try it with a scope Mosin. Is it only an issue with the semi-automatic rifles, or is it all? It's like an extra end game challenge for me is the cats walking in front of my screen every time. Sometimes they help me though. They tend to attack anything that moves on my screen. And I tend to be very, very fearful that anything they attack on my screen will result in my screen being demolished. He scared me. Now, give me. But now it makes no sense to spawn with that character. Give me. I should have spawned with a different connection. I will give it a shot later on, but I mean, even on this distance, at least some of the bushes render, or at least most of the bushes actually render. They're just extra big. Ah! And now my cat unplugged my main screen. That is awesome. I really love this cat. I hope the stream is actually still sort of working. No, it's not. These cats, they really want attention. Yeah, he's screwing again with my screen. Hold on, I need to. This is like an extra challenge. They're actually both behind my screen, playing with the wires. This one. But it seems just smoke. Oh, hold on, that's the problem. Give me a sec. Need to pause this. Yeah. I know. It's because I'm paying attention to my cat. They're trying to demolish everything. It's a little difficult to multitask. And I'm also looking at the chat, so... Ah, shit. And actually, yeah, the last faction I played is US. It also takes me some time always to adjust. 2 tanks. Nice. Oh, and now my cat is attacking my mouse. anything. They have a lot of APCs around here. Come on, destroy the APC. Good boy. I think that's a friendly destroying their APC. It's two of them there. Oh, no more mines. That's unfortunate. Oh, and it wasn't it. I thought it was just friendlies behind me. Another APC, are you kidding me? And I think I heard a guy reload here, yeah? And maybe in here? Oh no. They have 9 APCs. Okay. Awesome. Meteor, in some cases that is technically not even possible because we have a certain limit in the game itself in terms of how much rate of fire the game can handle. It's related to the tick rate. And besides that, I think you have to keep in mind that the game needs to remain fun, so it's not necessarily yeah. Run! Losing a running. It's horrible. Oh, he died. Oh, god, fuck. This is terrible. I'm opening everything. Yeah, that's the ragdoll Mombot 007. I think we have a report on that. That the ragdolls sometimes appear right in front of you. It's fairly annoying. That's not very nice. Let me use this one. Full tower, at least one of them. At least we're fighting with the pizza god. Yes, shooting somewhere. Okay. I don't know, I kind of like the, let me see what I have on the PPSH. It's decently accurate in this mode. This one it was. This one I have the bullets for precision. So sacrifice a bit of damage and I put rate of fire on it. Could actually do with the less rate of fire. If that improves the stability a bit more. Signum 79, I'm not sure if we really look at it right now, but at least in the past, or at least I don't really look at them, but they might still look at it. In the past, it's quite easy because we can produce, we have replays of missions, but we also have stuff like heat maps. And it is quite interesting to see, like usually when you're victorious, you say, oh, it was a great battle, but there's also battles which are being lost, and then the losers actually also rate the battle high, and sometimes it can be quite interesting to see why it has been rated so high. So you collect the heat map and the replay and you have a look like, what was so interesting about this battle that they rated it this high. So in a matter of speaking, I personally, I don't fill them in all the time as well, but yeah, it could definitely be useful to give the ratings. Skyrim 96, I was in regards to the technical limitations. I think the maximum our systems can handle is 1200 on the top of my head. Anything above 1200 RPM wouldn't make a difference anymore, I think. So both the M1, M2 and the PPSH should be able to have a higher RPM. Given if they have the mods for it, of course, and if you want to question the weapon balance in that regards, then I'm not the right person to ask, because I'm not the one doing the weapon balance. Batjaka _ Maniaka Actually, in the upcoming update, the 1.10.1, there will already be several optimizations which should also help reduce memory usage and other things. So optimization is definitely something we are continuously working on. Just, I need to transfer this one to say, oh, it's already on this screen. Oh, it seems I'm receiving more videos. So in the meantime, while we do that, it appears to be I've received a new video. 1 year veteran sales, I'm guessing it will come back, but when yeah, we're not gonna say when. This is actually the video I put on right now. I hope it actually shows. Is the Pershing in the new train model. Oh, hold on. No, the developers currently who are supposed to look at the cone fire and who will look at the cone fire at some point are working on mission critical stuff, which means they're upgrading our internal pipeline. So at the moment, no, nobody's looking at it, as far as I know at least. Can these people get free map? What exactly do you mean, Meteor? Tilios on the 1.10.1, hopefully tomorrow, could also be next week. It all depends on if the QA gives it a go. On the vehicle update, I wouldn't have a clue. That is still in well, I wouldn't say very early development, but it is in such a state of development that I wouldn't know when exactly we might see it. Meteor, these are videos from one of our developers. So this is done on an internal test server, and we use several commands to just spawn these vehicles and test it. It goes much faster than manually getting each character with the right setup. We can just spawn them, test it, and go back to the drawing board. Usually, actually, these are even done on local builds. Vico 207, no, not yet, but these are actually, I just got that one. That is the second video I got, and I think in due time we'll show more and more of it once it also gets into a more ready state. Aaron Direct, that issue is related to my knowledge at least, to the netcode, which means that one of the first things to fall out is actually, I'm not sure if that actually, too many things go. Let me start again. So it's related to the netcode, which means one of the first things to fall out when you run out of netcode, so to speak, to make it easy sounding, is actually the sounds. So that is definitely something we plan on improving. But once again, as far as I know, it's not considered mission critical, which means it's one of the developers needs to have the time to look at it. I just actually heard that the non-official official information is that 1.10.1 has been greenlit, which means it will be released tomorrow. Die! Ooh, something keeps shooting at me. No, the fact that it's not mission critical does not mean it's not a priority for us. It's just internally we refer to this mission critical as stuff which is required in order for us to actually be able to continue to develop the game. So that doesn't mean that we have a lot of actually community issues, which are also a very high priority for us. But we need the mission critical stuff done, like upgrading our internal pipelines and stuff like that, in order to actually continue developing, because we have some outdated tools which we need to optimize or improve or replace in order to facilitate some of these actual desired community changes as well. So it's not that it's not important to us. That's absolutely not the case. It's just mission critical is just a word we use internally for everything that is related to it. But we also have a fairly large list of prioritized community issues. However, right now we need to make a choice, like what do we want to work on, because doing both at the same time simply costs too much time. So it's better to finish the mission critical stuff and then move on to go to a full development phase again than it is to do a bit of both. I think he's in there. Someone shooting at me. Ooh! Don't like it. Do we actually? No, we don't. Let's see if I can. Nope. Not that. Nope. Nope. Yeah, this one. Oh, there's one behind it. That explains. Ah, headshot. I think, yeah. Sust1200. Once again, the mission critical stuff is basically internal pipelines and tools only. It does not contain It does not, no, hold on, it doesn't necessarily contain anything visual for you guys. But it is a necessity to work on that stuff in order to continue to develop the game. Oh, there he is. But I think there was another one. Oh, there he is. Come on. Yeah. I think there's a slight wall behind him. In front of him. Okay, so there's a tank there. And there's a tank here. Oh, yeah. And again. Come on. Hit it. Hit it. I think in regards to the cheating, because there's a lot of heated discussions about it right now, you have to keep in mind, just report them to customer support. That's the best thing you can do. You can also use the in-game report function, like if you click on a name, you can actually show it, report. Oh, hold on, I'm not sure, I'll report myself. No, I can't report myself. So, and you can say hacking, cheating, team killing, grieving, whatever. That's the easiest way, and you can also open a ticket, but the easier way is much more preferred. And keep in mind that there are actually a lot of players who are really, really good in this game and who are not necessarily cheating. I don't think it's a wise idea to accuse everybody in the Twitch chat right now, especially since pretty much customer support is the only one who can supply the evidence of somebody actually cheating or not. So just report them to customer support, and I'm fairly sure that Rito Gargamel is very, very pleased if he can ban cheaters. So, but you know, we verify everything, so we don't ban based on if you think somebody cheats or not. And next to that, we also have an anti-cheat system, which can also do a thing or two to the baddie boys. it's busy in there. Let's move up. Oh my god! Wow, my shot is a little off today. Wow. It's very nice of them, he just walked around me. I can't believe these guys can actually get ammo without us killing them. So there's one around the corner there as well. Holy snapsticks. Two. Because no, not no. I don't think we're going to offer name changes anytime soon. I think. For me personally, I personally only see big problems with it, because that means that griefers, people who tend to be very annoying. Of course, we would still be able to track them down, but if they are able to change their names, it gets fairly annoying. Change your name to what, Gislitters? To Geschnittert? Oh, I'm not having any trouble with the hit detection in this battle actually. Yeah, sure, Tilius, but we also have to look at that from a player perspective. It's, I think it's a pain in the butt if we implement that for everyone, the ability to change your name. But that's my personal opinion. In that, I'm luckily not the one making the decision about that. There's again, you see, he is there. I knew it. The question is, can I hit him from here? Guess not. AD Invictus, what do you mean? Like, I mean, what would the pouch serve? Like extra equipment or to carry more equipment? So you would go from 10 to 12 command points, equipment points, you mean? Because the equipment points are in the game right now, they're pretty much a large balancing factor. They're not necessarily based on the weight of the weapons or anything, but they're used as a balancing factor. So if you were to implement such a thing, that would probably screw around a lot with the balance of the game. Granny, no, there's no specific algorithm for pistols or whatever. It's just it's a combination of the cone fire, lock, many different factors involved in making a headshot. But I think it happens pretty much equally on all weapons. Yeah, but imagine doing these fixes. That would mean that you can probably equip. Well, indeed, you could prevent mix-up of primary weapons. But then again, if you make it so you can only carry one primary weapon, why would you still need the 2 extra equipment points? Because say you were to equip only one primary weapon, that means you could, if let's say if I take an SVT, then I will be able to equip what, 4 more stickies. So you would be able to run around with 12 stickies, for example. Oh, the T-20 is so gonna get shot out. But why would you? Okay, but why would you allow? Because this is. Why would you allow a sniper with an SMG, but not with an LMG? What's the difference in that? Where do you draw the line? What is the line? Okay, so you're gonna base it on weight then, but that the weight does not necessarily correspond with the way we have set up the equipment plan. So I mean, for infantry, I would say eh. But for example, the reason why the paratrooper has only 6 equipment points because the paratroopers are so incredibly powerful. So why would we give them 2 more? Because that would make them even more powerful, regardless of what they could possibly equip. Yeah, that works. Come on. Yeah. I hate bicycles. It's nothing to do with hit detection, Dexter. It's everything to do with the way I aim. Well, Fixes, I would say put it on the forums. Let's see what other people think about it. But I think it can really cause some problems. And I think we have to be very, very careful with that. I think it's risky, but yeah, I mean, if it is an idea supported by many, I will just forward it. And in the end, it's not up to, keep in mind, it's not up to me to decide on where or not it's get implemented. I'm just the voice between the community and the developers. Kerberos 209, that's because we base the prices of camouflages on demand, and that comes from the fact that we believe that the camo is more of a vanity item, so we can base the price on demand. And for the other stuff, the weapons and stuff like that, it's more based on their position in the ribbon. Yeah, but Fixes, I understand the point you're making, but right now, if you want more stamina, you simply equip less. So you use, say, 6 out of the 10 equipment points. That also results in you being able to run a lot longer. It's like my most played character is just a semi-automatic rifle with medkit. Just that. Allows you to run quite long. And it's a fast deploy timer as well. I think on the STG I have, I think in combination with what is it? Let's see. The STG I use in combination with H3. So this one is maxed out actually. No, it's not. But I don't. Why? I think. Well, it is maxed on it. I could technically play with this, but then I only have 30 rounds. 180 rounds is pretty much sufficient for a good well. And there's a lot of ammo around, or a lot of those ammo things around on the map. So I actually considered removing the H3 and adding the extra first aid kit, but meh. Adrian Invictus, I mean, you can post it here, but I'm not the guy you should talk to about that. In regards to, I don't think you are part of the RRR forums, but like new types of camouflage or assault vests and stuff like that, just post it in general feedback and try to tag Rito Mato. If you tag Rito Mato, hold on, I'll type it in chat. I think he's the one responsible for collecting new stuff for camouflage and stuff like that. But the decision on if it will increase equipment points or not, I think that resides mostly with Redbjorn and Rito Oxen. If you tag him, he might, yeah. I can always poke him if he doesn't. Most of us actually, you might be surprised, but most of us actually read the topics we're tagged in. Well, with the exception maybe of Redbjorn, because everybody tags him in everything. So he has like a billion lists of topics he's tagged in, but most of them actually read it, yeah. The tagging system works remarkably well, I have to say. What do you mean what happened with the T-34? It's there. It's going to be released tomorrow. I can show it. Hold on. I'll just quickly show it before I go. Hold on. I should be able to. This one. Or was it the 76 which got released tomorrow? Hold on. I keep confusing those two. Tinker. Think. Mediums. Oh no, you wanted the 85, didn't you? You wanted the 85? Yeah. No, the 85 camera is not going to be released tomorrow, but that probably means it just isn't ready. So, but this one will be released. The one for the No, there's a lot more camouflages coming, but it also takes some time to implement them in the UI and stuff like that. And well, this is simply the batch which was ready. It doesn't necessarily mean that we are going to use less. There's bound to be a lot more different types of camouflage for all kinds of vehicles and weapons. Soostix, apart from some minor RTS changes, no, there's not going to be any balancing changes because we're not looking at the weapon stats at the moment. The developers responsible for weapon balance, for example, are currently working on mission critical stuff. Because the funny thing about the loot boxes is actually, I think in March, Germany is going to make a decision if that is going to be illegal or not. So, I'm not so sure. I mean, once again, that's not up to me, but I would think twice about implementing it right now. Because there's a lot of debate in Europe about if it's allowed or not, or if it's gambling for children. Because this game is technically 11 plus, I think. So which means that only 18 plus people might be able to use the loot boxes. Joff 95 HRN, the initial changes will be done tomorrow with like some small choke points adjustments and stuff like that, but actually changing the RTS in the system that we want is going to happen at some point after the refactoring is done. No, it's 11 plus. 12 plus. 12 plus. I'm not sure. 11 or 12 plus. Yeah, me too. I mean, at some point I can agree to that, but on the other hand, if we don't abide it, then it's going to result in our game being banned from some countries, and that is not very beneficial for us as well. So. Somebody's moving my green screen. Oh, it seems he already moved it because I have a blackish corner in the corner. Data technician apprentices. Huh, that's a good question. Actually, I do not think we are, but we are actually looking for. Let's see. Careers. I think it was possible to do that. Careers. This is the jobs we're looking for at the moment, but I think you can always apply. Even for internships and stuff like that, but right now we're looking for a social media manager, a marketing graphic artist, a senior game systems programmer, a senior level designer, a senior server backend programmer, and an experienced QA engineer. So I don't think your data technician apprentice kind of falls under that, but But I'm going to end the stream because I've been at it for, what is it? What time is it? 2 hours. So I'm pretty sure my girlfriend and the cats who are back and happily ever demolishing everything around me, destroy really everything. I'm going to close down the stream. Next week there's going to be a Q&A and Y stream again, so I think you can still submit questions, or the voting has already started actually, maybe. No, I think the questions is still open, but it's probably going to close tomorrow, so the voting is going to start tomorrow. So if you want to submit questions, just go to the forum and fill in the Survey Monkey thingy. And I will either be back in 2 weeks or in 3 weeks, depending on development schedules. So have a nice almost evening, everybody, and for those who live in a different time zone, afternoon or night. And yeah, see you next week on the next stream.